All right, well, thank you for being here today for the Tuesday convening of the County and Municipal Government Committee. In true Senator Elliott fashion, we're going to throw a curveball, and he's going to let me sit in here at the chairman's chair today, and so we will work through this together. But thank you all for being here. Ms. Jennifer, you'll call the roll, please.
Senator Albritton.
Here.
Senator Carnley. Senator Chambliss. Senator Coleman. Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison.
Here.
Senator Hovey.
Here.
Senator Elliott.
Here.
All right, we've got 7, so we do have a quorum. Thank you all for being here. And we'll call the first bill.
Senate Bill 23 by Senator Gudger.
So, Mr. Chairman, Senator Gudger is otherwise engaged and asked me to handle this bill for him, so I thought I was going to get a break today.
No such.
So, members, this deals with our redistricting case. This bill does, and it requires it would require the holding of a special primary if a court order is issued or required or allowed for the changing of a congressional or state legislative district at a point in time too late to be accommodated in a normal primary schedule. I'm reading because I want to be very exact in what I say when it comes to redistricting issues. And so basically it creates an additional window of approximately 100 days. It only requires that a special primary in the affected district, and it requires any special primary to be completed by September 1st. The bill will allow more flexibility to adjust or return to the original districts post-ruling from the Supreme Court in the Louisiana case. So while we wait on that ruling, if there's any change there, it allows us some flexibility to deal with what that change may be. And so I would move favorable report on the bill.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you kind of just give us an example of this? Because this is kind of convoluted, right? Explanation of it?
Okay. So it allows, we're waiting on a court case, and we've got two districts right now that are impacted by may be impacted by the Supreme Court's decision, and allows us the flexibility to deal with that Supreme Court decision here and the time to do so before a primary or extending that time frame, depending on what the outcome of the case is.
Okay, so this assumes that the decision of the court may be after the primary?
It assumes that it either may be after or even so close that we don't have enough time.
Okay.
And so it gives us that optionality to the best that I understand.
Okay, so let's say that we pass this bill and allows us enough time to do whatever we need to do. I understand we have to have things in place. What happens, and I think you referenced it, but I didn't quite understand it. If the court case prevails?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by prevail.
Well, I
we
mean,
may have different opinions on that.
Well, obviously the court, we're talking about the Supreme Court or
Yes,
higher
ma'am.
court, would prevail over state law. So what happens to this? What?
So let's look at the bill, because I've got the notes here, but let's look at the bill. So we're on page 1 here of the legislation. So I'm going to start on line 47. In the event the boundaries of one or more of the legislative or congressional districts to be used in the next general election are changed or altered by either an act of the legislature or by order, judgment, or mandate from the state or federal court which permits or requires the use of legislative or congressional district boundaries, and the change or alteration is made at a time too late to be... Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Or excuse me.
if I might just, I think we're waiting. I'd like to do a second on this. I want to continue with the questions. I want to make sure they don't forget so I want to make sure we get a second on it, all right?
Okay, so I'm continuing on. Let's pick back up at the end of line 52 here. And the change or alteration is made at a time too late to be accommodated during the normal primary election schedule held or to be held in accordance with this chapter. The state shall hold a new special primary election for the affected districts in accordance with the section. So long as the special primary election can be completed by the last day of August. A special primary election held pursuant to the section shall be required for the affected districts regardless of whether a regular primary election was held for all or part of the affected districts under the previous boundary lines. And so, again, I think this is more of a timing issue than anything else with the ruling itself. And not knowing how that's going to come out. It just preserves some optionality for us.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? We've got a motion by Senator Elliott and a second by Senator Albritton. Any other questions? We'll call the roll.
Senator Albritton? Aye. Senator Carnley? Aye. Senator Chambliss? Aye. Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Kelly? Aye. Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Hovey?
Aye.
Senator Elliott?
Aye.
All right, 7 ayes. Senator Gudger, who's not here, your bill receives a favorable report. Second bill on the calendar. Senate Bill 71 by Senator Chastain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Members of the committee. Members, Senate Bill 71 is based on Tennessee law that provides guardrails and guidelines to the environmental rulemaking process. And what this legislation does is prohibits an agency from adopting a new rule or amending an existing rule that establishes standards for certain environmental protection subjects that are more stringent than federal law or regulations. And it also requires, in the absence of federal law or regulations, that agencies may not adopt a new rule or amend an existing rule that establishes standards for certain environmental protection subjects unless the rule is based on the best available science and the weight of scientific evidence. So this is the very cornerstone of what this legislation does, is making sure that when you're making a new rule, state rule with the agency, that it's based on science, the best available science. I understand we have a public hearing on this, Mr. Chairman.
We do, thank you, sir. And we actually have an amendment too before we get to that public hearing. So I'm going to officially introduce your amendment,
Yes,
but
sir,
I will ask
please.
you to explain it if you don't mind.
Yep. Yes. So what these amendments do, and Mr. Poulos worked with us, Director Poulos worked with us on this. It clarifies the implementation of rules and reinforces the state flexibility, as long as it is based on sound science.
All right, thank you. Can I get a second on the amendment by Senator Elliott?
Yeah.
Ms. Gold.
So the amendment clarifies the implementation of rules, okay? And it also reinforces the state flexibility. As long as it is, did you get a copy of the amendments? Got them?
It's in the front left pocket of your binder there. All right, so we've got a introduction of the amendment and a second. Let's vote on the amendment if that's okay.
Senator Albritton? Aye. Senator Carnley? Aye. Senator Chambliss? Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Kelly? Aye. Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Hovey?
Aye.
Senator Elliott?
Aye.
All right. We have added the amendment officially. We do have a public hearing on this bill with a few proponents and two opponents. I'm going to call you up one at a time, and we'll have 2 minutes per speaker. The first one, I'll ask Mr. John Barganier to come up from Manufacturer, Alabama, as a proponent.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I believe, today and the members of the committee. John Barganier with Manufacturer, Alabama. I represent industrials, manufacturing companies throughout the state that make up really the largest majority of those most highly regulated by ADEM, EPA, other groups. We're here today in support of Senate Bill 71 for two simple reasons. One, we believe that a striking balance between best available science and regulatory matters is the best way to balance environmental stewardship and economic development as well. Our members spend millions and millions of dollars each and every year on environmental compliance and investment in that world. But also, we believe that a bill like this will create more consistency and reliability in that environment for our companies who've invested so much in the state. So we appreciate the sponsor's leadership and would ask you all to consider moving this on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, could I get Mr. Luke Kisla, Mobile Baykeeper?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak on this bill. My name is Luke Kisla, and I'm Government Affairs Director for Mobile Baykeeper. I'm not a scientist. I'm barely an attorney. Y'all know that full well. And I'm not really here to talk about the environment specifically, but what I'd like to talk about is the principles of federalism. So at the start of this nation, when we were debating the core principles of federalism, people often remember the debate about the strength of the central federal government. But people often forget the other flip side of that coin, the need for a strong state government. Specifically, Thomas Jefferson championed the idea of a strong state government in order that Virginia could defend its interests against other states with adverse interests. Without that strength, the state had nothing in order to guarantee that its citizens were provided for. I struggle to understand why this bill links Alabama's power to defend its citizens' rights with what the federal government is doing. I'll be honest, we can debate sound science all day and night, and I'm probably not the person to have that debate, given that I'm not a scientist. But what completely renders us unable to have that debate about what sound science is and what sound science is not, what renders us unable to do that is when we voluntarily surrender our powers to defend our rights, to defend the rights of our citizens, defend the rights of our people. We have a need for a state government that can do that, and that's a reason why it's our state's motto. I'll finish by saying I found out recently that my wife and I are going to welcome our first child this coming summer. And this does change your worldview pretty dramatically, pretty rapidly. And one of the things, after working here in this building for the better part of a decade to start my career, one of the things that I hold very dear to me is the fact that we have such people in state government that are going to defend my rights and the rights of my unborn child. And it is in that vein that I ask this committee to ensure that the state retains its power to defend our rights. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Mark Brins, the U.S. Chamber.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's an honor to be here today. This common sense legislation simply requires that when a state agency is adopting an environmental rule, that it has to be based on the best available science and the weight of the scientific evidence. This is a very common sense approach. It is one that is an Alabama approach, but it is incorporating some federal concepts. It's not the federal government in any way co-opting Alabama, but saying there are certain concepts at the federal level that just make sense. In May, President Trump, for example, issued an executive order on gold standard science. And President Trump's executive order directs federal decisions to be informed by the most credible, reliable, and impartial scientific evidence available. And that's all the bill would do for Alabama. Gold standard science principles are also well established in several federal environmental laws. The Clean Air Act, for example, requires EPA to issue air quality criteria that accurately reflect the latest scientific knowledge. The Toxic Substances Control Act requires, when the EPA is regulating toxins, to apply the best available science and the weight of the scientific evidence. And the same standard is found in the Safe Drinking Water Act, too. So at the federal level, these are standards that have been adopted to ensure that agency decisions follow the science and not politics. It's not a partisan issue. And the legislation provides great flexibility for the director here in Alabama to do what is in Alabama's interest. The Alabama rule can go up to the federal rule, and it can go down. The only thing that the bill would say is if there is a companion federal rule in an area, the rule can't go beyond that. And that's because it's trying to restore some uniformity in the United States so manufacturers and farmers are not living in a patchwork system.
Mr. Charles Miller.
The chair would allow, I'd like to yield my time to the next opponent, Ms. Stokes from the Southern Environmental Law Center.
Absolutely. Ms.
Thank you.
Stokes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Stokes, and I'm a senior attorney at the Southern Environmental Law Center in the Birmingham office. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you about SB 71, a bill that changes the way that ADEM creates toxic standards for industrial polluters. Committee members, I would make a bet that you know somebody that has had cancer and they don't know where they got that cancer. We all do, unfortunately. And this is the reason that environmental, health, and safety groups are opposed to SB 71. This bill was drafted, let me just give you a background. It was drafted in response to the fact that these groups petitioned ADEM to adopt more protective standards to control the toxic pollutants that industrial users put in our waterways. The groups requested the ADEM to ratchet down those standards, and ADEM agreed that they should do that. In fact, the Environmental Management Committee that is appointed by the governor agreed that our toxic standards should be lower. But industrial groups didn't like ADEM's ruling, and so now they are proposing a bill that would keep these toxic standards at harmful levels. We're talking about things like arsenic, and we're talking about things like cyanide and hexachloroethylene and toluene. The list goes, there's 12 actual criteria pollutants, and some of them are carcinogens. This bill keeps these standards at harmful levels and keeps agencies from creating new standards unless those standards are shown to directly causally link to manifest bodily harm in humans. If you look at the definition of manifest bodily harm in the bill, it prohibits implementing standards based on increased risk of harm. Most, if not all, of epidemiological harms from pollutants are characterized in terms of risk factors, not actual bodily harm. And prohibiting the use of risk factors would exclude all scientific data showing that certain chemicals are known risk to human health. It will require agencies to wait until animals or people are actually dying or sick from exposure before they are allowed to adopt rules about dangerous chemicals.
Thank you, Mrs. Stokes. Time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, committee, we've got a bill and an approved amendment. Do we have any questions for the committee?
Well, I don't have a question. I have I guess a statement. Alabama is a diverse state with a lot of different areas. And if we went around this table, and I know that many of us represent those areas that have had environmental issues. In Jefferson County, we certainly have had our part. I represent North Birmingham, where we still have been fighting for the past 3 decades, air pollution. This has gone all the way to EPA, and if the standards were being met, they are fine. The gentleman said that members have spent millions of dollars to come into compliance. Well, not everybody. I know in Walker County, they had huge issues down there. Years ago when I was at Alabama A&M, there was an issue dealing with the fish pollutant of the water. For years, fish was just floating on top of the water. This was a huge health issue. We can go on, and certainly we don't even need to look at Emile, but we can look at rural counties in Alabama where you have water issues, unsanitary sewage, spillage and everything. My concern is that this has been an ongoing fight with federal government and EPA to crack down on these people, to have them to come in compliance. It's the bad actors that's making it look bad for everybody. I'm not saying that the people that fought for this and the ones that are out there doing good things and following the rules, but this is supposed to be a body that is supposed to be the voice of the people, we represent the freedom of the people by our actions here, but there is no freedom when we pass laws that impact them health-wise. We impact generations to come when you allow polluted water to continue to run through communities and raw sewage running down the street, and nothing is done by the people who are perpetrating this. Sometimes it's like lead poisoning. it is not detected until the child starts school, and then you notice that the child has a learning disabilities. Oftentimes, this is oftentimes in poor neighborhoods. But we represent all Alabama, and more we are getting into diseases that are airborne. I'm not for relaxing the guidelines because if we pass this law, it would be different if we say, okay, up in the Huntsville area, down in the Mobile area, whatever, they don't have that problem. Let's just pass it and let them not have to worry about it down there. But I have to look at the people that I represent in places like North Birmingham and Tarrant City, and even in the Black Belt counties where I know these things are still happening. And if we pass this, we are basically, in essence, telling these people, we really don't care about your health. We don't care about your future. We don't care about the kids and their welfare. And you wonder why kids have learning disabilities? This is why they have learning disabilities. And so it is incumbent upon us to do our due diligence to make sure that things are put in place. If there's a better way that we can come and do this, where you don't have those hot spots, that's why in these industrial areas where you have where industries have moved out and they didn't go back and clean up, those things are still out there in the community. I have them in my community over in North Birmingham, an area that we cannot redevelop simply because we do have those hot spots. So this would just give them a ticket to continue, and us still dealing with how are we going to clean this site up to make it habitable for the people who continue to live there and don't have any other choice, and the schools and the playgrounds that are around that where these kids are exposed to all of this. I'm sorry, I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have any other questions or comments for Senator Chastain?
Do we have a motion? Okay, I'll move to adopt.
Second by Senator Carnley.
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, may I make a comment real quick? Senator, I'm really intrigued by the amendment, and it preserves some optionality. That's a new word I've been using a lot down in South Alabama. But it preserves some optionality that I'd like to look into a little bit more. I think it's headed a little bit more to get my support, but I think it's always interesting when you have an environmentalist making a states' rights argument. That's pretty novel, and I'm a big states' rights guy, and I'm not gonna hold you up here, but I want to talk to you a little bit more about it.
Well, I know you have an issue pertaining to this, so I would love to have an opportunity before we get this to the floor, if it passes the committee, to have this discussion.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, Senator.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Senator Chastain. All right, we have the amendment added and seconded. So now we will vote on the bill. Go ahead and call that list if you would.
Senator Albritton? Senator Carnley? Senator Chambliss? Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Kelly? Senator Coleman-Madison?
No.
Senator Hovey?
Aye.
Senator Elliott?
Well, put me as a no for now.
All right, 5-2. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
All right, our third bill, Senator Kelly, Senate Bill 105.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know we've got an amendment as well to discuss. What this bill does is fairly simple. The bill would require county municipal governing bodies to publish financial statements, audits, and monthly expenditures and budgets online. This is a bill that we brought last year. Senator Singleton had some concerns for some in his district and the ability to comply, so we made adjustments for that, so that would meet the needs of that particular area. We've also met with the County Commission Association and others on that, that we've got their agreement on. Back some time ago, I served on a task force here in the state that led to the Alabama checkbook, where the Alabama citizens could go online and take a look at the expenditures of state government. This simply, in a simplistic way, mirrors that, where county commissions and municipalities would have the same duty. Now, that can take on several different forms. There's not a particular software that they have to buy or anything like that. They can put PDF forms as far as that goes online, but allows the local citizens in the county and municipalities or anywhere in the state to take a look and see where taxpayer dollars are going. Now, you know, taxpayers have got a right to see where their money's going, and that's all this is doing. It doesn't change how money's spent. It doesn't change any of the reporting requirements. All the information is already being generated. It doesn't create penalties or enforcement mechanisms, and it doesn't assume any mismanagement or wrongdoing. Now, one of the concerns that were brought to me when I met with the league is about some smaller municipalities. And so going back when the Small Business Commission was first established, I served on that commission as well. And in Atlas, Alabama, for every city and county, there was the availability for them to have a website to publish whatever they needed to do at that time. That's been many years ago. Some may have used it, some may have not. But that availability is there regardless of the size of the town or the municipality. What we've done, we've extended this out to the end of 2028 to give plenty of time for the towns and cities to comply and for the counties to give some direction on it. I'd like to discuss the amendment. And so the amendment that you have in your notebook has been added to. So take a look at the one that was passed out to you that starts replace line 17. That would be the amendment that it encompasses the amendment you have in your book. All the first two paragraphs that there are that was added to the amendment that's in your book, all that does is replace some language that the examiner's office said some terms needed to be updated. So that's what that is. So I'd offer the amendment, sir.
All right, so Senator Kelly offers the amendment. Do I have a second on his amendment?
You have a second. And members, just so you're clear, this is the amendment that ends in Mike Victor Sierra Kilo -1, just so we're on the same page.
There was an amendment in your pocket.
That's
There's a secondary amendment.
Yes, ma'am. And I just wanted to make sure you were looking at the right one. So I'm going to hand you mine. It encompasses the other amendment as well. And so the other, we're leaving that one you were just
Omit
looking
the
at
first
off to the side, and this handles both issues at once. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Abbott.
Yep, perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, any questions on the amendment? We have it introduced in a second. Let's vote on the amendment.
Senator Albritton? Senator Carnley? Senator Chambliss? Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Kelly?
Aye.
Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Hovey?
Aye.
Senator Elliott?
Aye.
All right, so our amendment passes. So we've got amendments and public hearings, oh my. So we have a public hearing here for Senator Kelly's bill with one opponent. And so Mr. Beck with the league is going to come up. We will give you 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. My name is Caleb Beck, the Legislative Counsel for the Alabama League of Municipality, here to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 105. I want to start by giving my gratitude to the sponsor for sitting down and discussing this with me. There were a lot of things we agreed on. However, the league's concerns remain. At the outset, I wanted to make it clear that the league strongly supports policies and procedures that uphold transparent and accountable government. However, the league opposes costly and cumbersome mandates that strip local governments of their decision-making authority. For municipal government, a one-size-fits-all solution is not feasible, and I'm here to explain why. So the league's first area of concern is the resource burden created by this bill. For large cities with a full IT staff and finance staff, maintaining an online archive of financial documents may be straightforward. However, more than half of Alabama's 466 municipalities have fewer than 2,000 residents, and many, perhaps most, do not employ a full-time clerk, much less an IT staff. A lot of times, the IT department is the part-time clerk. Because of this resource restriction, our smaller municipalities might lack the technical expertise or staff to frequently format and upload these types of financial documents. The more cumbersome requirements mandated by the state, the more difficult it is to retain city clerks. The next point I would like to make is this is a decision best made at the local level. So what do I mean? As I mentioned, a lot of our larger cities already do this, but they made this decision based upon local context. The decision was likely made in consideration of two things. One, whether the city had the resources to do it and the resources to do it proficiently, and two, whether their constituents asked for that information. If the answer to those two questions is no, which is the case for a lot of our smaller municipalities, then it would not be prudent for the municipality to venture down that path. Mandating all cities to post this information online does not account for local context. What works for a large metropolitan area may not be feasible or useful for a small rural town. And finally, I'll end with this. Arguably, this is already addressed in the law to a certain degree. The public records law allows you to request this information by public records request. So this would just be duplicative of that already existing requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sure, Mr. Beck. Got a question from Senator Chambliss.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Beck, do you know how many municipalities are 1 or more years behind on getting their audits done?
I do not have that information readily available, no, sir.
Okay. I can just tell you they're not doing it. And we've actually passed legislation to try to force that issue. I think this is coming about because these are public dollars. And these municipalities, and I understand there's some of them that are small, but it's no less public dollars. And I think we as a legislature are looking for more transparency and for more of this information being out there for our public so that they can make decisions. You know, if the audit's 3 or 4 or 5 years later, you know, who knows what anybody could do during that period of time.
Sure.
So I think maybe my suggestion is for the league to help us in this in this quest. So
Yes, sir.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Chambliss. Any other questions for Senator Kelly?
Just a comment. I think this is the finger painting version of what could be out there. This is a very low bar. When I look at this, it's publishing a few documents that could be readily generated by any online accounting software. Checkbook software. This is basic info, and I don't see, members, that this would qualify as a hardship on anybody that's doing anything correctly now. Thank you.
I think that was intended as a compliment.
And a head shaker at the same time. I just don't understand. But thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Elliott. Any other questions or comments? All right, we have a
Comment.
yes, Senator Coleman Madison.
And to the gentleman from the league, I'm normally a very strong supporter of the league, simply because I came out of local government, and I understand that. But Birmingham is different. We have a whole department down there, and they put together budget books, capital projects, whole 9 yards and everything. And everybody, all 99 neighborhoods used to get 2 big books delivered and everything. They don't do that anymore. Cost of expenses, and they have a print shop. So the resources are there. And I do understand that it does place a hardship on smaller cities, but I have to agree with Senator Elliott, which is, I didn't take my meds today.
Too late. It's in. Too late. It's in the minutes.
But they're asking you this requires just basics. If you keep any financial records at all, monthly expenditure, small cities don't spend that much. They don't have that much money. They may be operating on less than $100,000. It doesn't take that much to do this. And so I don't think it is unreasonable. I do think the citizens need to know. If you want citizens to be involved, they have to know what's going on. And I do agree with this. So I support your bill.
All right, thank you very much. We've got a motion on the bill. Senator Kelly has introduced it, and the amendment. Senator Elliott seconded the amendment. Do we have a second on the amended bill? Senator Albritton. All right. Now let's vote on said amended bill.
Senator Albritton? Aye. Senator Carnley? No. Okay. Senator Chambliss? Aye. Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Kelly?
Aye.
Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Hovey? Senator Elliott?
Aye.
All right. Your bill passes, Senator Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair,
We're
members.
going to roll on to Senate Bill 109 by Senator Elliott. Committee members, you'll notice perhaps you will have noticed an amendment in your packet, but we are not going to worry about that one at this time.
That is correct. So, guys, in interest of time, I'll do this way. We've passed this bill out of committee several times, and we have passed it on the floor several times, and it's just not matriculated downstairs. This is a peer-to-peer car sharing bill. So if you think about it this way real quick, I live at the beach and I got a Jeep and I want to rent it out on the weekends to somebody that wants to take it and go do that with it. This establishes, Senator Albritton will like this, some rules and regulation and taxation and insurance requirements for an activity that is already going on in this state and puts some parameters on said things. And so over the years, we have worked through issues with rental fees at airports. I know in Birmingham in particular, we've satisfied those issues. And so I think, 3 or 4 years down the road, this bill's ready to go ahead and move again. So I move favorable report at this time.
Senator Elliott has introduced the bill, and Senator Coleman Madison has seconded it. Do we have any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move for a vote.
Senator Albritton? Aye. Senator Carnley? Aye. Senator Chambliss? Aye. Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Kelly? Senator Coleman Madison? Aye. Senator Hovey?
Aye.
Senator Elliott?
Aye.
All right, bill was successful. Congratulations, Senator Elliott. Senate Bill 115 by Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is an expansion of what we've done as far as assisting the counties with being able to basically do business. Early on, it was a bill that I sponsored that expanded the expenditures up to $30,000 as far as bid. The problem is automobiles and things like that is an ongoing repair thing, and oftentimes much less than $30,000. And so they're coming into an issue with the auditors because if you're doing one at a time and they say, okay, you've exceeded, now you're over the bid law, what it requires, you're breaking the law. Sonny is here, it's causing some problems from the auditors. And this would break it down to say specifically, and it's for all counties and municipal governments, as far as repairs of vehicles, and it specifically speaks to vehicles. So, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Mr. Brassfield, do you mind approaching and giving a few comments?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This sets up the process that's already in the law now for heavy equipment and heavier vehicles, so that repairs that are under $15,000, county would be required to get 2 bids on those. It's a system that again, we use now for heavier vehicles, and it's necessary to make this exemption, so to achieve that for regular trucks and those kinds of things.
Right. I move passage of the bill.
All right, thank you. We have an introduction and then a second by Senator Kelly. Any questions? We've got a motion to use previous roll. Any objections? None. We'll move on to the next one. Senate Bill 131, Senator Stewart.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Mr. Chairman, this is a good bill. With our friends with the county commission, they might have association, they might have more comments they may want to add. But what this bill does, it creates a 24-month transfer exemption for when you're selling a plot on unincorporated county property. And so we do have an amendment. If you want to discuss the amendment first.
Sure. We will. I'll introduce your amendment. Do we have a second second by Senator Elliott? So now we officially have the amendment on the floor.
Okay. So the amendment, it clarifies and tightens how the 24-month transfer exemption works. And so it's some technical language. If a land is transferred to an immediate family member with, which is allowed without triggering subdivision rules, and that land is transferred to anyone outside of the immediate family within 24 months, then the county subdivision regulations apply to that land. This already exists for cities, but we just trying to have some parameters for the county.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Listen, we'll vote on the amendment using the previous roll if there are no objections.
I'll go with the amendment, but I have a question.
All right. Let's vote on the amendment and then we'll get your question. All right, we've got a motion and a second by Senator Coleman Madison. So we have added the amendment. What can we do for your question?
I got unusual. I've got some conversations this past week in Baldwin County about this particular matter, wanting to get this cleared up and fixed. The accusation was that in the current law, there's a restriction so that if you send it to a family member, it falls out of the exclusion. But then something happens with a transfer or something else, and it starts getting developed. Does your bill address that at all? Now you have the 24-month time frame there, right?
Yes.
So if a family member owns it for 24 months, he's got to own it for 24 months before he develops. Is that what's going on?
Well, this would help add those protections and mirror the city regulations that already exist.
Well, don't expect me to trust the city's doing, okay?
With counties, but there may have been concerns with counties using the loophole.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. This is the fix.
This is the fix?
This is the fix.
This prevents, this actually gives the family member 24 months to hold it so it can't be transferred to a third party or something and then developed without any particular aspect.
There you
right?
go. There's the kicker, right? So they can't after 24 months then have the subdivision requirements waived.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I was looking at trying to develop something on my own, but I'm glad that you got this done.
Good work, Senator Albritton. You can take that back home.
Yeah, good committee work. Move for final approval.
Okay, we're going to move for final approval using the previous roll if there are no objections. Seeing none, bill passes. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, committee.
Senator Stewart. Senate Bill 148, Senator Allen.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you and committee. This bill passed out of this committee last year. And it's very simple. And under current law, the leagues, the cities and towns may enact an ordinance or resolution. If you look on line 12 of the bill, it says that this bill will be an ordinance requirement there, not a resolution. Then if you look at the public hearing section of it, starting on page, line 15, it says that will require at least 30 days notice before a public hearing. Now, this bill does not prohibit towns and cities and municipalities to raise taxes. This is just a process in which we're going to ask each of you to consider. And we do have an amendment to.
There is an amendment on the left-hand pocket of your folder there. Senator Allen, I will introduce your amendment. Do we have anyone else that will second it by Senator Elliott? So now we have an amended bill.
And guys, the amendment real quick, this, as Senator Allen mentioned, this has been introduced before. It got reintroduced with the 2025 date in it. The amendment fixes the date.
Sorry, there you go.
To 2026.
Just the date.
Yes, sir. So anyway, I would just encourage you to go ahead and get this out of the committee since we had it last year. And it's a very common sense approach to managing our towns and cities. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we do have a public hearing.
We do.
I'll yield to that.
Thank you, sir. We're going to vote on the amendment, changing the date to 2026. We've got a motion to use previous roll. Hearing any objections? None, so we have added the amendment. Now we will open our public hearing.
No, well, I got one question. This, the amendment changes on or after October 1, 2026. And the last line of the unamended shall become effective on October 1st, 2026. Is that? So basically, it's moving the date back to a council can change a new tax basically to that act. Is that basically it?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So it's the amendment's changing line 56 there, right, where it says notwithstanding any action taken on or October 25, which is obviously in the past, right? So we're on the
Yeah,
bottom of
yeah.
page 2.
Okay,
So
I
it's
got you. I got you.
Syncing that up.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we do have this public hearing. We have, we'll start with Ms. Rosemary Elebash. If you'll come up, you'll have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee. Let me say that this bill does not prohibit a tax increase. It does not cap municipal revenue. It does not remove local control. All it simply says is if a city is going to do a new tax or a fee or renew a tax or a fee, they're going to give the public a 30-day notice. That's simple in what it is.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And Baker Allen with the league.
Yep, you're good. Good afternoon. I'm Baker Allen, Director of Governmental Affairs for the Alabama League of Municipalities. The League and its members are opposed to Senate Bill 148. Municipalities already have a procedure for implementing a tax. Senate Bill 148 adds additional requirements to that procedure, which could result in an increased tax cost in the form of either posting on a website or having to use a newspaper to advertise. These types of decisions should be made at the local level. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Allen.
Okay, may I ask one question? Senator Allen, okay, publishing in a newspaper can be expensive for small municipalities. Just recently had to publish something that was pretty close to $1,000, and I'm like, things have gone up. But do they have the choice of either putting it on the website or some other kind of?
There's plenty of websites and social media, yes.
Yeah, I just want to know that publishing is not the only option because that is not it. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We have a motion by Senator Chambliss and a second by Senator Elliott. Any other conversations or questions? All right, seeing none. Should we use previous roll? Yes. All right, no objections. So, congratulations, Senator Allen.
Sir, thank you, committee.
Senate Bill 165, Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a statewide bill with local implication for the city of Gadsden. They are wanting to up their qualification fees for their candidates for municipal offices, and then require someone who says they're indigent to have proof of that so that they can have the fees waived. That's simply all it does.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a
Move favorable report.
Second.
Local control. Look at that. We did it after all.
All right, any other questions or comments? Any objection to using previous roll? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman, members.
Mr. Chairman, great job. Great job. Come on, y'all. There we go.